staying safe during this COVID time here. I'm going to talk to you about what it's like to be in the field of making medicines. So, I am actually a doctor. I have a doctorate in biomedical engineering, which is very different than the type of doctor that you go see when you're not feeling well. I went to school for a very long time to get that degree and had to do some research that no one in the world had done before to be able to get that PhD after my name. So after I completed high school, I went to 4 years of college where I actually got a degree in civil and environmental engineering, and then went on to 5 more years of school after that to get my PhD in biomedical engineering. Um, a lot of people ask how I got into biomedical engineering. It's a really interesting story. I always thought I wanted to be a medical doctor, so an MD versus a PhD. And when I was in undergrad, I studied civil engineering because it was exciting to me. I thought it was fun and it covered a lot of the courses that I needed to go to medical school. Throughout that, I worked with a professor who looked at hip implants. So if you injured your hip and you needed to get a prosthetic put in or an implant put in to help you walk better, I did some research with that professor, and part of that was that I actually got to go into the OR with a physician to watch them do the surgery and put this hip implant into this patient's leg. Um, in doing that, I realized that I didn't really like blood so much, and it kind of grossed me out, and actually became the second patient in the room because I fainted. So I realized then that medicine really probably wasn't for me because I was a little bit squeamish and in looking at that, but I did know that I really wanted to help people and I wanted to be a part of that. So from there, I shifted my work and my life plan from going to medical school to instead getting this PhD in biomedical engineering and helping to develop medicines that cure people. I focused in graduate school while doing my PhD on drug delivery and working on how to deliver drugs to tumors in people's bodies. So when they had cancer, how can we treat this cancer by making sure that those yucky chemicals that kill the cancer are only located at the cancer area of the body so it doesn't make the rest of the person sick. The best part of my job, as I said, is knowing that I'm contributing to new medicines that are going to help people. I still focus primarily in the oncology area or for those that are suffering cancer and developing drugs there. And the hardest part, or most not fun part of my job, is really there's a lot of medicines that are developed that are really hopeful that unfortunately just don't work. So when you're working on a trial and everybody's working so hard and the science shows that it works on animals in the lab and we start to put it in humans and it doesn't work, it's a little bit disappointing. So really what I do is work in the clinical trial field. So when a drug is developed, it first works in a lab and they do it on cells, and then they move it to animals also in a lab to make sure that it works on animals. And there's different animals that are used based on the similarities of that animal's body versus human bodies. And we take what we learn from those animals and then we start putting it into humans, and that's where I work. It's called clinical trials. There are a variety of phases of clinical trials that we look at to ensure that that medicine is both safe and effective for patients. I help to run and design those clinical trials for a variety of companies throughout really the globe. The salary range for a type of position, people who start in my career are usually around the $60,000 salary range, and it can go anywhere to once you're about 10 years in the career, you're probably in the $150,000 range, and then it can go up further than that if you're in a leadership position to around $250,000 to about $300,000. In terms of how I'm working today with COVID, it's really exciting. I told you I typically work in oncology, which is accurate. However, a lot of the greatest minds throughout all of pharma are focused now on COVID, both on treatments and on vaccinations, so that we can all get back to living our normal lives. So I am still working right now. I'm working remotely, which I actually do normally, even not during the COVID time. And we are working remotely, and we have developed a consortium, which is a group of like minded companies who are trying to either continue to run their clinical trials when patients aren't allowed to go to the clinics or the hospitals or their physicians because of the stay at home orders. Or we're helping companies who are actually developing COVID drugs to make sure that they can get those trials together quickly, safely, effectively, that we can get something done to really beat this virus so that we can go on to a daily basis. So I'm looking forward to answering any questions that you have, and hopefully we'll talk soon. Stay safe, everybody.
Hi everyone, my name is Sharon Spatucci and I own and operate Sugar Plum Studio in Cherry Hill. Sugar Plum Studio is an edible art studio. Here we teach people of all ages how to bake and decorate delicious things like cakes, cookies, cupcakes, and lots of other sweet treats. By trade, I am a pastry chef. I have been a pastry chef for about 20 years now. I've always loved to cook and bake, and as far back as I can remember, loved helping my grandmother and my mother in the kitchen. I come from a very big family, so there was always something being cooked or baked at home. There's something that's so wonderful about making food for the people that you love. As I grew older, I became more interested specifically in baking and cake decorating. As a teenager, I got a part-time job at a small bakery in my neighborhood, and as I worked there, I eventually decided that I wanted to pursue a career in culinary arts and become a pastry chef myself. I studied in culinary school for 3 years, both in the classroom and what we call in the field, by working under different chefs in their restaurant and bakery kitchens, learning hands-on skills from them in real time. How long you study to be a chef can differ greatly depending on the route that you take. You do not have to go to school to be a chef. You can start by working in a kitchen and learning from the cooks and the chefs there and working your way up through the kitchen. You can become a chef without ever stepping foot in a classroom, but it will take time. Working in a kitchen, whether it's a restaurant or a bakery or a hotel, can be very challenging. I know television sometimes makes it seem like it's a big fun party, and it can be sometimes. There are always aspects of any job that are fun, but it is also very hard work. Preparing food, any kind of food, is a manual labor, meaning we physically have to prepare everything from peeling potatoes to cracking eggs to rolling dough to cutting cookies. Mostly everything is done by hand, all while standing up the whole time. You'd be hard-pressed to find any chef or any person in a kitchen sitting down. There's a lot of heavy lifting things like bags of flour and sugar. When a kitchen receives a delivery of food ingredients, usually everyone working that day stops what they're doing to help unload the trucks and put things away, because it can be many, many heavy boxes and bags. Way too much for one person to do. Being a chef can also be challenging mentally too. You might be surprised to learn that there's a lot of math and science in cooking and baking. Chefs must know how to make a recipe larger or smaller and know exactly what will happen if we substitute ingredients. Baking in particular is a very specific science. You can have disastrous results if you measure incorrectly or use the wrong ingredient. Being a chef, that means that you are in charge of the kitchen. Every food item that comes out of the kitchen, whether you are the one who cooked it or not, is your responsibility. It's a chef's job to make sure that every person is doing their job correctly. The chef is the manager of the kitchen. When I'm not in the kitchen, I'm in the studio, which is our classroom here at Sugar Plum Studio, teaching baking and decorating. I love sharing what I know with my students. Sometimes my students have a lot of decorating and baking experience and want to learn a particular new skill, and sometimes my students are brand new to baking and decorating. The most important thing that I want every student to know is that food is art. There is no right or wrong. It's your creative expression. Even though everyone in the class follows along with the same instructions, every person's project will look different in the end, and that's okay. The best part about that is even if your finished project doesn't look perfect, because there really is no such thing as perfect, it will be delicious anyway. Teaching is definitely the most fun part about my job. The least fun part about my job is the cleanup. Being creative can be very messy, and there are always lots of dishes and tools that must be washed and cleaned. When you work in a kitchen, whether you are the top person in the kitchen, the executive chef, as I am, or the person who sweeps and takes out the trash, it is everyone's job to clean and make sure that the kitchen is neat and sanitary. It is very important when preparing food that we work cleanly and follow specific rules about food safety, and that requires everyone to help keep everything clean. How much of a salary you can earn as a chef varies greatly depending on what kind of establishment you work in, what area of the country you live in, and how much experience you have. The longer you work as a chef, typically the more skills and experience you will have, and therefore you will make more money, just like at any other job. Right now, since the country is in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, Sugar Plum Studio, like many other businesses, are closed to the public. That has been very hard since we're not able to teach any classes. We miss all of our students very much. Typically, all of these seats behind me would be filled with students eager to get mixing and decorating. However, since we are a food-based business, we have been permitted to sell items for takeout. So each week we put together edible art kits that you can complete at home. Things like cake decorating, cupcake decorating, cookie decorating, fun little projects that allow you to be creative and to get a little sweet treat while we're all safe at home. It's not the way I'd prefer to run the studio, but that's all we really can do right now. Just like many other businesses, we're counting on everyone to do their part to stay home, to stop the spread of the virus so that we can all get back to doing the things we love. And for me, that's having a classroom full of students to teach. Thank you so much for inviting me to your career day. I've enjoyed talking about what I do as a pastry chef and what we do here at Sugar Plum Studio. So stay home for now, keep those hands clean, and we'll look forward to meeting you someday. Bye.
Hello, OLGC family. My name is Gina Cerrucci, formerly known as Gina Shirelli, and I'm just here to share a quick video with you to discuss my career as a registered nurse for your virtual career day. My nursing journey began in 2011 when I graduated from Drexel University with my 4-year bachelor's degree. From there, I took on a staff nurse position at the University of Maryland Hospital in the neurology ICU. One of the questions I was asked was, what is the salary range for my type of position? Currently, a new nurse coming out of college with a bachelor's degree, salary range is between $58,000 and $60,000 a year. Personally, I went back to school again and got my master's degree in nursing in healthcare administration and leadership, which was another 2-year degree, where I was promoted then to a clinical nurse manager position at Fresenius Kidney Care, where I am still currently working. And I'm also now back in school for my nurse practitioner's license, which is another 3.5 to 4-year degree. The reason I wanted to share that information with you is to just show how the sky is the limit when it comes to a career in the healthcare industry. There's really no limit to what you could do, to what you could put your mind to. And obviously with responsibility and degrees comes salary increase. So some of the other questions that I was asked was, what was the best part of your job and what is the hardest part of your job? Which I think they go hand in hand together. The best part of my job is seeing and helping and making an impact on the lives of people every single day, whether it's my nurses or my patients, genuinely saving lives and being there for people who sometimes just don't have anybody else. And the hardest part is the same thing, seeing those people who might not have anybody else and you are their lifeline, genuinely. There is a fine balance between work and personal life that I think a healthcare profession really is able to accommodate depending on what field you go in. That was always something that was big on me, was having a family and being able to provide for that family while at the same time still being able to help my patients and do everything I need to do for them. We currently are in a pandemic, which was another reason why I was very excited to make this video. As you can see, healthcare workers, frontline workers, first responders, they play a pivotal role in the daily lives of people. And I hope that this, as terrible as the situation and circumstances we're in, sheds light on the vitality of healthcare workers that we need. Everyone can make a difference. Everyone is here to support each other. And as hard as it is to make sure that you stay healthy and keep your family healthy and safe, the reward of saving someone else's life is undescribable. So if you have any other questions about being a healthcare worker as far as nursing, I am always free to answer questions. I'm be more than happy to help people. Like I said, nursing is a wonderful career. It's a rewarding career. And I just hope everyone stays happy and healthy, from me and my family to you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tom Kostick. I'm Denise Kostick's son, and I work at Apple. I'm a leader for the Apple stores in this area, so I help make sure that people can buy things at stores, be able to get things fixed, and help make sure all of the people that work at those stores stay happy. I've been working for Apple for about 9 years now in this area, and I love it. I really like working with not only the people that work there, but I love technology and being able to see that change and evolve. That's one of the best things about my job, is that no 2 days usually are the same. New stuff happens every single day, new stuff comes out every single day, and being able to adapt in that change, it's nice. Sometimes it can be hard though. Change can be difficult, especially even now working from home. It changes a lot about how I have to operate. So I do a lot of video conferencing, a lot of phone calls, a lot of things that would happen face to face while you're walking past someone at work now have to happen over a phone call or a FaceTime call. So it's a little bit more difficult to logistically figure out, but it's still just as rewarding. You still be able to connect with people, just in a different way. Thanks, and I appreciate being able to share what I do.
Hi everyone, my name is Christy from the Pie Lady Cafe right here in Morristown, New Jersey, and this is my pastry chef, Jill Cattels.
Hi.
We're so happy to be here with you today as part of OLGC's Career Day. Thank you so much for inviting us to be a part of it. So we wish we could be there, but this works too. So we wanted to tell you a little bit about ourselves and how we got into the business. We did it quite differently. I have a background in psychology, and I got my master's degree in it as well, and my other background is a degree in business. So one would think that, how did you end up at a pie shop? So since I was really little, I've always wanted to be in the kitchen and learn, and it's always just been a part of me. I would say it's been my passion. So when I got out of college and started my family, I found myself continuing my passion. So I decided to take a shot at it. And believe it or not, every day I use the psychology and the business. And I was able to combine my passion with my formal educational learning, which really had nothing to do with baking or cooking, but it actually does. And I do use that psychology all the time when I'm dealing with my staff or my customers. And I do call upon, of course, all the things I learned with my business degree as well, because I run the business. So it's been really a blessing for me to be able to combine those things and be here in Morristown, being creative with the baking and providing comfort food and just making people happy, hopefully. And I appreciate all the support I've gotten, and I am lucky enough to have the knowledge and expertise of people like Jill, who took the direction to do what she does differently. So she's going to tell you a little bit about that, and then I'll talk more about our shop here. Okay.
So I grew up loving food, always wanting to be in the industry. Food didn't play a huge part in my family, as many people. So I guess it was just kind of the curiosity of it that kept me going. I chose to go through school for food. That was my college. I did a year at a community college where I took some basic courses, food safety, nutrition, and then I continued my education at the Culinary Institute of America up in New York, and did 2 years there, got my associates, chose not to continue with the business aspect of it because I figured if I wanted to do that later on,
That's always an option.
Yeah, I could go to school later on at another school, learn that, or as I've learned now, I do it on the job.
Yeah.
And I furthered my education at the CIA. It's
One of the best schools.
yeah, one of
in
the best
country.
schools.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was great. They taught me, basics. They taught me in depth. I covered breads, chocolates, French pastries. I learned how to serve. I learned some culinary stuff such as knife cuts, and basically all the basics with that. It was a great overall knowledge, and I practiced it almost every single day. They taught me a lot of definitions, why certain ingredients react to certain other ingredients.
Chemistry, science comes into
Exactly.
play. Yeah.
It's just a lot of knowledge and a lot of background on the food, so it deepens your passion for the industry. Like I said, I use it every day. Christy has taught me a lot of things.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great industry to work in. There's so many fields you can go into. You can go into food, like editing, food photography, reviews. You could be a chef, a baker, management.
Yeah.
You could be a lot of the front of house, like working
Hospitality.
with hospitality. There's so many jobs out there, and it's all over the place. So if you don't love working with the food as much as you thought, there are so many other fields you can go into.
And right, and those fields require the background anyway.
Yeah.
And the other nice thing about this field, and I think Joe would agree, is that there's so many different areas that you can go into. It provides a different experience almost every day. So if you're someone that likes or that appreciates the job constantly changing and finding you in new areas of the field, this is probably something you might want to consider. So it's very diverse, and it gives you a lot of different aspects to the job that you can not have the same thing every single day.
Yeah.
That's a kind of a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
never a boring job.
No.
Constantly changing, constantly adapting. And you're working with food. You're being creative. You can experiment with things. You'll learn what works and what doesn't work. It's very entertaining.
Right, and relevant to right now, as we all know what we're going through with the pandemic. If you think about it, although our industry, the food industry, has suffered, as all industries have, the food industry in particular has thrived somewhat because we all need to continue to eat. And so
food brings comfort, and people are always going to seek food, especially comforting food right now when everyone is high stress. And it's always a need. Like Christy said, right now, things are hard and the industry has taken a hit, but people still turn to it. And the feeling you get out of comforting people and being there for them and being that somewhat of a rock for them is just very fulfilling and
awesome.
Rewarding. Yeah, it's a great feeling, and it keeps you going in a dark time.
Right. So hopefully you guys have felt our passion coming from two totally different spots, 2 generations, 2 spots, and you know what? We're going to continue through this entire thing as best we can to provide that comfort and that food, and we look forward to as the spring continues and we move into summer, we're going to be adding new items to our menu, and we're going to be beginning our takeout, and hopefully starting with our we already finished the expansion for our cafe, so we're going to start trying to introduce some of those items and do the best we can to continue to serve you guys. And we really appreciate being a part of this day. We hope that you get inspired.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi everybody, my name is Harry Carroll. I am a graduate of OLGC from the class of 1982. I am a owner of a financial planning firm called Cadence Financial Management, and I oversee the wealth management department. My specific role in the company is to manage people's individual money. So people will come to the firm, they have questions about can they retire, can they afford college for their children. I give them those answers. Typically when that happens, they will give me their money, and I will manage that money. And I will put the money into the stock market, the bond market, alternatives like real estate, and oversee and manage their money and their wealth to make sure that it's protected, but make sure that it also grows so they can reach the goals that they've set forth. One of the best parts about my job is that it's different every single day. The market goes up and down, so it's something that you don't have control over. I get to meet different people. It's satisfying to help people reach their goals, but I think the best part about my job is the work-life balance and the flexibility that it provides. So the market's open from 9:30 to 4, so I am working during those times. But after 4 o'clock, I'm out. I coach Morristown High School. I've never missed any of my kids' sporting events. There's lots of time to travel. It's COVID-19. I've worked from home. I'm working from home now. I worked from home before, so I can kind of do this job anywhere that, as long as I've got an internet capability where I can interface with clients and access the markets, I can do this from anywhere. So I think that's probably the best part of the job. The hardest part of the job is that I'm dealing with people's money, and money is a very emotional thing, and I'm making decisions with their money. And sometimes those decisions go wrong. And the hardest part of that is going back to the client and saying, what we thought was going to work did not work. And the money, we've lost money. That's not an easy conversation to have. So you've got to be careful in what you do and competent in what you do, but it always doesn't go right. The salary range for my job varies greatly. So most of the times there isn't a salary. You get paid by commission, which is to say that you can make as much as you want or as little as you want. But when people typically come into the business, we start them off and we'll say, we'll give you $50,000 a year. And then at some point they gradually go into just a straight commission. I would say the average person in the industry who's been in it longer than 15 years makes north of $200,000. Did I know that this is what I wanted to do? No, I had no idea. I didn't even know this existed in grade school. I didn't know it existed in high school. I had an idea that it existed in college, but I didn't have a great idea. And it wasn't until I was doing another job where I kind of said, this is what I want to do. The barriers to entry aren't great, meaning that the degree that you need a college degree. There's other certifications that you should get and you need. But all of that is just to display that you've got a competence, because again, you're dealing with people's money. You've got to have a certain degree of competence, and people want to know that they're dealing with somebody who understands the basics in terms of what's going on in the world, and can make the right decisions for them. So I would encourage anybody that's thinking about this job that you need to be disciplined in that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, which sounds great, but is very difficult. You need to make sure that you've got your best interests in heart, right? So you're doing things for the right reason, which is to ultimately help the client, that you like dealing with people. There is a certain amount of math that's involved in it. But at the end of the day, it's a great job. It's in a growing field as more and more people need help. And I would strongly recommend it. So thanks for learning a little bit about what I do in my company today.
Hi everyone, my name is Sean Kostick. I graduated Our Lady of Council back in 2007. My current job right now is a media supervisor for Tide Laundry. Basically what that means is I am the person who executes and strategizes all of Tide's advertising. Whether that's a commercial on TV or a sponsored post on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, a sponsored lens or filter on Snapchat, or even a car radio advertising that you might hear when you drive. The best part about my job is I get to do amazing, fun, creative things. For example, this past Super Bowl, I actually worked on the Tide Super Bowl ads. We had 4 ads running, and it's one of the biggest things you can do in advertising is to actually execute an ad on during the Super Bowl, because it's the most watched sporting event throughout the year. So I got to work with the NFL. I got to work with, I believe it was Fox this year that had the Super Bowl. I could be wrong on that. And I got to work with Facebook and Instagram, as well as the talent that we worked with during the commercial. So it was an amazing opportunity for me, and a great, great, great part of advertising is that it may be stressful in the moment, but when everything's said and done, you look back at it and you're like, oh my gosh, did I just do that? Wow, that's great. The hardest part about my job is aligning all of my budgets. I am not a math whiz. I was never good at math, but I manage around $200 million worth of advertising dollars. It's a lot of money. And it's not even my money, so I need to make sure I'm doing everything correct with that money. If not, I can be in very big trouble. So I have a lot of documents that make sure I'm spending my money properly with all of my advertising dollars. But that's probably the hardest part for me, is just making sure my budgets align and doing double checking everything I do, especially with my numbers. Just knowing how much we do spend in advertising is quite significant. How long did I go to school for this position? I only did a bachelor's degree in college, so that means I did 4 years in college. Yes, if I do want to go ahead and get a little bit further in my career, I would have to go ahead and get a master's degree. But I think I'm pretty fine for right now. I'm not complaining. How are you working during COVID-19? I am working from home like everyone else is, and I'm working with Mr. Sock Monkey. He's helping me a lot. But I'm fairly new to my position. I started maybe a month before all of this happened. So for me, it's kind of difficult. Just normally in an office environment, you can go ahead and talk to the person next to you if you have questions about, certain process or how to do certain tasks that I might not know how to do, but they might know it really well because they've been here for a while. Now you have to email them or text them or even call them to figure out what to do, and sometimes they're not as responsive as they are in the office because you're right there talking to them face to face. If I email somebody and they don't get back to me, they could be watching TV. They could have several other things going on relative to work that my asks may not be as important as what they're doing right now, which I totally understand. But I think that's how I'm working during the COVID-19 situation right now. Did I always want this job? I knew I always wanted to be in media in some capacity, whether that's public relations, which I went to school for. I went to school for public relations and corporate communications, or advertising. I kind of always knew I wanted to be in this industry in some capacity. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey guys, my name is Gabrielle Dixon and I'm an aspiring actuary at Independence Blue Cross. Right now I'm only an aspiring actuary because I haven't finished all my tests yet to become a full actuary. At Independence Blue Cross, actuaries work a lot with numbers. Actuaries all over the world work with a lot of numbers, but at Independence Blue Cross specifically, we work a lot with healthcare numbers. So we might look into how much it costs for you to go to the doctor. We work with numbers every day. So a little bit more about myself. I went to Drexel University where I played soccer, and I also majored in finance and business analytics. I loved math growing up, so when I was even your age, and I still love it today. So if you really like math, maybe an actuary career is for you. I would say probably the best part about being an actuary is that we do a lot of problem solving, and we do a lot of problem solving together as a team. You probably do a lot of problem solving too. Specifically with math, you might be trying to work out a problem, and maybe you might talk with your teacher, ask a question, maybe work with some of the other students. So we do that too every day. We work with a lot of problems and we work with a lot of numbers. I'd say probably the hardest part about my job is that we have a lot of deadlines and a lot of projects that we have to get done. You probably have a lot of homework and a lot of projects too, so that's a lot of good practice for the future. So we work a lot as a team to get those projects and deadlines done, but sometimes they can be a little bit overwhelming. As you guys probably know, we've had a lot of COVID-19 impacts. Thankfully for me, I'm able to do my work from home. I do all my work on my computer. That's where we do all of our numbers. But it is definitely strange not being able to see my coworkers or work with them in person. That's also why I'm doing this video instead of actually coming to your school today. So to wrap up, I just want to say thank you so much for letting me talk to you about what an actuary does. If you guys have any questions, feel free to talk to your teacher, and he or she will forward those questions to me. Also, I want you guys to enjoy being home and spending time with your families, as well as working hard on your schoolwork. But when the summer comes, make sure you enjoy it. God bless and stay safe. Thank you.